Welcome back to Unreal Golf, you guys. Today I'm going to be showing you my webcam putting setup. All the settings, what I think is really important. I learned a lot from Triple Bogey's videos, so if you want to go ahead and watch his setup videos, they're going to be really helpful. But whether you use the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, Garmin R10, Mevo Plus, whatever is supported on the Springbok connector, this setup video should be really helpful to you because I've gotten this very well dialed in. Now, I'm using this Razer Kiyo webcam right here. Cost me about 45 bucks. This was the cheapest camera that I found because I like to do everything in a budget way that supported 60 FPS. Now, you want a webcam that's going to use 60 FPS. 30 FPS for me just didn't quite cut it. I had a Logitech camera that just wasn't quite accurate enough. The speeds were inconsistent and it wasn't very enjoyable. So go with a 60 FPS camera. But basically, my webcam sits right on top of this bar top right here and points straight down. My hitting area is right here, and then when it comes time to putt, I'll just move a couple feet closer and the webcam is pointed straight down, and that's my hitting box. So let's get right into the setup, and I'm going to show you some really important things that are going to help you dial this in the quickest. First of all, use a matte red or orange ball. I've got this one here that's slightly discolored too. You're going to find which one works better for you. Why can't you use a white ball? Is because you need something that contrasts between your hitting surface. So for me, both of these colors work really well because a red/orange is a complementary color, meaning exact opposite on the color wheel from green. So my hitting surface and putting surface is green, so these balls pick up the best because you want something that contrasts really well. I'm going to open up my connector because there's something really important here. One thing that frustrates a lot of people is that every single time you open up webcam putting, your settings reset. And so there's a great way to actually get these settings to save, and I'm going to show that to you here. So if you come in to your connector, I have all of my files in one folder. You can open up this config.ini file right here. This is just a notepad with all of your settings. If you ever open up your webcam putting settings, you're going to notice that all of these settings are what you change when you actually go into the Springbok connector here. Now, this specific webcam right here supports 60 FPS if you're running it at 720p. So you have to force the webcam to 720p. So in layman terms, guys, essentially you just want to take this height and width here, set the height to 720 and the width to 1280. So you can actually delete these here, type in 1280 for the width, type in 720 for the height here. You're going to save this file, okay? And you can actually save all your settings here so that if you have any special custom things that you need for your settings, this is how webcam putting will open up for you every single time. So that right there is the most important one if you have a 60 FPS webcam, because otherwise you're going to notice that you're going to be stuck at 30 FPS. So we can come back to that later. When you click on these putting settings up here, you are going to have to make sure that it's set to webcam putting. What's working for me right now is red 2, but mess around with the settings and you'll figure out which one of these colors actually picks up the ball the best. But red 2 seems to be working really well for me, so does orange 2. So toy with those, but I'm going to leave that on red 2 for right now. Other than that, leave your focus set to gspro, because otherwise when the camera comes up every time it comes time to putt, you have to click back on the screen to be able to move your aim for putting. And then when not putting, you want this to send to back, so that way your putting window is not always up on your screen. So pretty simple there in the putting settings. Now we don't even need to connect our launch monitor, so I won't be doing that today. We're just going to connect here to gspro, and then we're going to connect our webcam putting. You're going to see right here that you're going to have custom values set up, okay? That height 720, that width 1280. So that's telling me that we're forcing 60 FPS, and that's really important, you guys. Now, my lighting is all screwed up right now because I have my lights on, so let me turn this off. I'm going to try and point that in the general direction of where this typically sits, and I line it up with my golf mat. I just putt along the golf mat line, and that helps me out. And the next thing we want to do, if you already have your projector set up too, close your Springbok connector and all that so you can get your lighting similar to what it's actually going to be like when you're playing. You're going to press A to go to your advanced settings. Now this is where you can control all your stuff like brightness, contrast, saturation, whatever. So when you open this up, the first thing you really want to do is come on over to camera control, because for some reason low light compensation likes to be on sometimes for me, and I use autofocus myself, and I also use auto exposure too. So you're gonna see the FPS is slowly going all the way up, and so right now we're right around that 60 FPS mark, and that's exactly what we want. So on this screen right here is where you can change all of your basic settings: brightness, contrast, saturation, sharpness, all that. I have the most success when mostly everything is dark and just a little bit of light is coming through actually. So what I definitely recommend doing is opening up this mask frame window with the D key on your keypad here, so you can actually see the contrast here between the ball and your hitting surface. Now, you want the whole ball to be white if possible, and here's what it looks like with an orange ball. So we've got this orange ball right here and the red ball right here. So technically the orange is actually probably better for me to use right now, but I have it set up so that both work pretty well. So that's pretty awesome, but I'm going to move the red ball out of the frame here just so you can see it with this orange ball and how well it's working. This is what you want to see. So now you can adjust all these settings right here that we looked at before, like your brightness and your contrast, and get it so that the ball is white. That's our goal here. So if I go really low on brightness, it's going to screw with everything. So you don't want anything else being white besides the ball. So right there, the brightness was way too low. So now we can come higher, and you can find it to a point where the majority of the ball is white and not black. So that's what we want. So for me, it's going to be somewhere around here, pretty much where I had it. You'll see the same thing if you mess with the contrast. See how the ball gets smaller as I go down on the contrast? We don't want that. So, and I go up too high, and then the whole thing just becomes white. So we don't want that. So you want to really find the sweet spot here. For me, it's looking like it's somewhere in here, pretty much where I had it before. I don't need to mess with anything else, but you can mess with those settings. But this mask frame is going to be really, really important for you actually getting the perfect settings. So now I've got that set up here. Great way to practice your putting. It's going to be on-course practice. Go to the gspro practice facility right here. The par 3 tees are going to be some longer flags, and then if you go down to the junior tees that are a bit shorter, that's going to put you straight on the green. You can set your greens, you can set your stimp, which I like to putt on around 11 most of the time, and we'll just go straight into it. Alright, so we're set up here on the putting green here, and this is a really cool way to practice your putting and also get this dialed in. So we're starting out on flag number 1 here, and you can see that as soon as I get onto putting here, this putting window is actually going to show up on the side. I usually like to move it around to the side over here, somewhere where it's not going to be in the way, and the right side usually seems to work pretty well. The only thing that we really need to see is the yellow box and the red line. So I'll try to give you just a better view here, but basically my putting square is right in here. So I want to set my ball down right around here somewhere. Perfect, it's going to get picked up on screen there. And now basically this is a 5-foot putt. I definitely hit that a bit hard, but it registered really well too. And another way you can kind of check yourself to make sure that everything is picking up well here is watch this putting window when I hit a putt. You see all those red circles? The ball is getting picked up every single time it sees one of those red circles, and so that's great. That's exactly what we want. If you only saw 1 or 2 circles, then you might be alarmed that you just don't have enough FPS at the moment. So then you'll want to go back to that mask frame and make sure that the ball is actually contrasting with your hitting surface. Let's go to a bit of a longer putt here. This would be a 20-foot putt, and it's pretty much straight. That was pretty good. Perfect. Okay, so I'm happy with where that's at, but if you feel like it's a little bit too fast or if it's a little bit too slow, you're going to want to open up these advanced settings again. The radius is what you want to mess with. Now I'm going to leave this open and just show you guys. If I shorten my radius to 7 here, And then I try to putt at approximately the same speed. Now we're going to use the red ball here. You're going to see how much faster the ball goes. If you lower the radius, the ball speed is going to increase. So that's how you can really dial it in. So if I go to 15 here, and it's important to know here that the radius is going to be different for everybody's setup because it has to do with how far away your camera is from your ball, okay? So my number is going to be completely different from yours unless we have the exact same camera, exact same setup. So if I try to hit a 20-foot putt again, but I put the radius up to 15, look how hard I hit it, and the ball didn't go anywhere, all right? So this is a little bit of trial and error. Unless you have a stimp meter at home and you can consistently roll the ball every single time, you're going to have to try to go off the field. But a great tip I have for calibrating is this, guys. So obviously I know that for me, from here to my screen is about 9 feet, right? So I'm going to find myself roughly a 9-foot putt. Here we go, 9 foot 11 inches right here. And I can adjust the aim, but whatever, we just want to get the speed roughly the same. So I'm pretty much just trying to putt to my screen here. Okay. So I actually feel really good about that speed now. And I'll practice this on my own time to get used to that new radius, but I feel a lot better about that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Here's a 30-foot putt. You could actually take this. You can actually click on this ball icon up here and you can move this wherever you want. You can click on the map or just the green and you can actually create a different putt. So if I want a 61-foot putt, here I am right here. Aim that a little right. I definitely didn't hit that. I came up about a good 15 feet short. That was better. That was a pretty good speed. I forgot to adjust my aim, but that was right around 60 feet. Alright guys, so that's it for my webcam putting setup. I know there's a ton of information involved, so if there's anything you want me to go more in depth with, just let me know in the comments and I'll definitely address them in the comments or with a dedicated video. So yes, there is a little bit of setup to this, but when you get it dialed in, guys, it's really fun. So thank you so much for joining me and hopefully it wasn't too confusing. I'll see you next time.